All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our webinar. My name is Jennifer Differ. I'm the Director of Enrollment for Hult's MBA program based here at our San Francisco campus. And joining me today is Rohini Rebello-D'Souza, a current MBA student in San Francisco. And I first had the pleasure of working with and meeting Rohini. It was about last year around this time when she applied to the program. And it's been very exciting for me to hear about her MBA journey this year, and hard to believe that she and her classmates will be graduating from the program in less than 4 months. So tonight, Rohini will talk with you all about a little bit about her background and decision to attend Hult, and will share her experiences as a Hult student thus far. And although Rohini is studying in San Francisco, I know some of you on this call will be attending or considering attending one of our other campus locations. And many of the experiences that she'll describe will definitely apply across our campus locations. The webinar will be recorded tonight, so if you miss anything or are taking notes, we will be sending a recording next week, or if you do want to share this with a friend. And then finally, we will save time for a Q&A at the end of the session, so probably in about 25 minutes or so. So please try to hold questions until then if you can. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Rohini.
Thank you, Jenny. So I'm happy to talk with each one of you. It certainly has been my pleasure to be a part of the Hult experience. And with that said, I just want to give you an idea of what we're going to cover. Really, it is my experience, and then to give you an idea of what you need to prepare for while at Hult, what Hult offers you, and finally, the Hult difference, in my opinion. So my family and I moved to the Bay Area. I'm in San Francisco Bay Area, and we moved from Ann Arbor, Michigan, because we wanted more challenging careers. Interestingly enough, what we realized was that, with my 17 years of work experience, I had a new life over here. So I have 17 years of work experience in the medical device industry. I'm very passionate about empowering women in business. I'm an urban dweller, is how I like to call myself. I'm keenly interested in community building. I'm a wife and a mother. You can see a picture of my husband and son there. And I did a bachelor's in business administration from Ithaca College in New York, and I have a bachelor's in economics from St. Xavier's College in Bombay. I am an avid, rabid University of Michigan sports fan. So my story of how I found Hult is apparently not atypical, which is understandable. I chanced upon Hult. As I told you, we moved to the Bay Area for careers, and I turned down an offer that I thought would put me a little bit out of my comfort zone. But before I turned it down, I looked at the resumes of my direct reports on LinkedIn and found Hult featured on one of them. Interestingly enough, I'd never heard of it, so I looked it up and thought, wow, a global MBA in 1 year, absolutely, that's what I'm going to sign up for. And so I filled out a form, and the very next day, Jenny called. I was floored. I have to tell you, that is some response time. Interestingly enough, I turned down this job offer. I was in a different job at the time. And so when she told me that for the 1 year MBA, I'd have to be a full-time student, I wasn't totally prepared for that, but she certainly left an impression on me. 7 months later, sort of fast forward, I realized that I'm not happy. I need euphoria, as this little Calvin and Hobbes cartoon tells you. I really was looking for that change. I needed to meet the right partner in terms of education, someone to make me feel like it was worth crossing the chasm, getting into the MBA. And so I decided I was going to quit my job. I called Jenny for a second time. We worked together, and she really made it possible for me to see that Hult would be the perfect choice for me. And I have to tell you that, I still feel the sort of chills when I look back at the day that I got the letter when I heard that I was accepted, it was a wonderful feeling. With that said, my goals are to be an entrepreneur. And I'm passionate about being, making a difference in the field of professional careers or professional lives of women. For me, that really is where I want to be. And in terms of capitalizing on my strengths, I recognize that I have a strength in terms of networking, coaching, and mentoring. But there's so much for me to learn, and I feel like that's why this MBA was perfect. In terms of the industry, in terms of technology, in terms of concepts, it just seemed like this was the perfect time. And so that has been my goal and remains my goal, to be a lifelong learner. The last part of it certainly is to incubate my business idea. So at Hult, I had the opportunity to incubate my business idea. In fact, that's what Jenny sold me on. I was able to pick a team, and during a particular class called the Hult Business Challenge, realized that this particular concept that I'd been thinking up in my head could be turned into a business idea. So we worked on it during Module B, and I'm happy to let you know that it was the best decision ever. So Hult has taught me a lot. And when I thought about what I could put down in this slide, it was twofold. One was to give you an idea of my coursework. I started in September in a module, that's what we call them over here, a module named Immersion. Sort of a soft introduction, really. You get to know what the Hult DNA is all about. You learn about leadership, team building, case studies, really learn about yourself, but more importantly, what Hult calls getting to a growth mindset. So you change yourself from having a very fixed mindset, and you adapt and you learn to really grow. So that takes you from immersion in September when I started, and then Mod A was October through December, a pretty challenging module, which was perfect. Those sort of hard skills, accounting, research, leadership, economics, OB. But then something very, very interesting. In Mod A, I decided that I would take part in this amazing contest called Hult Prize. I don't know if you're aware of it, but Hult Prize is the world's largest business school competition for social good. It was started in 2010 by a Hult MBA, and the winner of the Hult Prize is awarded $1 million in order to realize their business idea. The topic for the year last year was harnessing the power of energy to transform the lives of 10 million people. What a fantastic, amazing goal. Something that I absolutely felt passionately about. And so at the very nth hour, a friend of mine and I decided that we were going to put a team together. And so we had a team of 4, and we came up with an idea. And then we validated the idea and pitched it to investors. We weren't fortunate enough to go to the next round, which was regionals, that was held here in San Francisco just a few weeks ago. But what we learned was the actual part that we play in terms of the Hult experience. We get to be a part of this Hult Prize, and that for me was amazing. So Mod A was the absolute crescendo. Mod B was January through March, and it was certainly challenging. Maybe challenging times square is the way that I put it. Some more hard skills, but interestingly enough, this is where I got a chance to incubate my business idea. So not only did I have a team that I worked with during Mod B, but I also had a separate team that I worked with in order to realize my business idea. Mod C, that which I'm in right now and which will conclude next week, is slightly easier. For me this year, it was global strategy and a capstone simulation. Mod D and E are optional rotation modules, so you can rotate to any one of Hult's campuses worldwide. I've chosen to stay here in San Francisco. And just to give you an idea of the courses that I've chosen, I've put them down here. But what I wanted to share with you, besides what my year has looked at, is give you an idea of the people and the difference that I have found over here at Hult, what Hult has really taught me. So I've worked with 7 teams representing 15 countries and over 6 continents. I've worked with team members from Korea to Cameroon, Australia to Mexico, and I've enjoyed every single moment of it, because not only are we diverse in our backgrounds, but we're diverse in our thinking. And with them, I've had an opportunity to research and present on topics as diverse as automation, international marketing, change management, blockchain, diabetes in sub-Saharan Africa, and also diverse company presentations. So we've presented on companies like GE, KUKA, Tesla, Toto. We've presented to clients like the World Economic Forum, IBM, Audi. And so you can tell that not only have I learned quite a bit in terms of hard skills, but I have come away with such an amazing feeling of this diverse body that Hult is. In terms of student life at Hult, interestingly enough, there is a vibrant student life. And, you know, to me, it seemed like I wanted to give you a glimpse of what the clubs were all about, but I wanted to be candid with you that my schedule didn't allow for me to join very many of these clubs. So the clubs, each one of them hosts their own events each year, in addition to the events that the Hult Student Association and Student Services put on. Each of these clubs get a chance to show off their skills and recruit people at a club bazaar. It's as diverse as game nights. They bring in speakers, they have cultural dinners, welcome receptions. There's even a winter ball, a networking event. And so the top really is all about your interests. And it is as much as you want to put into it is as much as you'll get out of these clubs on campus. And the other part of it that I wanted to talk to you about was really why Hult makes a difference for every student, whether you join a club or not. So in Mod A, you get to choose your own representatives as part of this Hult Student Association. And my MBA cohort was just north of 100 students. So we were divided into 2 cohorts or 2 classes. And each one of these cohorts gets to elect 2 representatives. They represent you so that they can talk to administration on your behalf. And so that's pretty fantastic if you're interested in being a leader here on campus. An unofficial but wonderful event that goes on throughout the year is Taco Tuesday. And it really is one of those that helps students who are here from around the world feel connected. There's a WhatsApp group, there's a Facebook group. Interestingly enough, you know, even when we rotate around the world, I feel like that's what's going to keep us together. We do have a default Hult bar right across the street at a restaurant named Il Fornaio. Pretty much find us there after every exam. And it has a feeling of camaraderie. There's quite a bit of sharing of events that students are interested in, whether they're networking events, pitch events, you know, you name it. And what tends to happen around campus is that we share these sort of events that we're going to on our WhatsApp groups. And lastly, I wanted to talk to you about career services. Our career services is pretty fantastic. There's a link on our website that will take you directly to career services, but I wanted to let you know that not only do they offer boot camps, one-on-one mentoring sessions, they do have a career day, they've got a LinkedIn group, but I think they go over and above in recognizing what your needs are, where are you from, and where do you want to go. So for me, what I think really stood out is the Hult difference. and it truly has a global outlook. Hult has a very, very global outlook while making anyone feel really special. So I thought that was a wonderful local focus. And interestingly enough, what brings us home for me is when your professors ask for examples from your own companies, your own countries, and pretty much let you know that they don't want you to have any canned presentations or talk to the rest of the class about companies that are well known. And I was fortunate enough to share experiences about the companies that I've been with and learn about companies that my colleagues had been at. Interestingly enough, I felt that with the teams, with the diversity of opinions and personality, I was really able to hone in on my strengths. My strengths are public speaking, influencing, and mentoring. But I really felt like I needed to continuously explore the areas that I could grow in. Hard skills in terms of finance, accounting, operations management, these were a refresher from when I did my bachelor's. And at Hult, I found out that not only is the student body diverse in terms of the countries that they come from, but they're diverse in terms of their strengths, their hard skills, as well as their soft skills. So that was my goal, to really harness the best. And as you can imagine, this 1 year has been intense. For me, I really have to thank my family. Without my family, I would not have been able to go through this year sort of unscathed. Time flies. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm working crazy hours. And a lot of it felt like I was just high on adrenaline, really low on energy. But something in me just kept wanting to do this, not because I paid for the MBA, but because I committed to Hult and Hult committed to me. And so that's what you get to see with the rest of the student body. Really have students who come here because they want to make a difference in their countries or amongst their own cohort. And so what we're taught at Hult is not just a spirit of competition, but a spirit of co-opetition. And that for me was a welcome change. We do have the opportunity to engage in a dual degree. So in 18 months, you could have an MBA and a master's in another specialization. There is plenty of time to get internships, and the Office of Visa over here does have the ability to represent and to advise you on CPTs and OPTs for those of you who care about and are concerned with such things. Interestingly enough, for me, the Hult difference carries on because Hult allows for alumni to have continuing education, to take one elective per year for life. And I'm certainly going to take advantage of that, no doubt about it. So with that said, I'm happy to engage in any questions that you have. I've put up a few just to give you an idea of the questions that came to mind for me. Yeah, sure. So in terms of how can I prepare for life at Hult, really the idea is that if you're going to prepare for a year or 18 months, you should be aware that the time commitment is pretty solid. Right from immersion, so September through Mod B, it is one of those that you're going to want to draw on your strengths from. It's intense. There are a lot of, besides the classes, a lot of team meetings. They require time and effort. So I'd say make sure that you commit yourself to that. Mod C can be extremely challenging too, and that concludes in May. In terms of what can you do to prepare for life as a student again, we do a lot of HBR style articles. That's what's represented in terms of coursework. So get into the habit of reading 15 to 25 page HBR articles, and you'll probably have, for each class and for each subject matter, you probably have I'd say about 2 to 4 hours of reading a day. Textbooks can be expensive. You can purchase them online. you can get hard copy, new or used. Professors will post reading materials before the class, and it's done through an online portal called My Courses that you'll have access to. This portal is really efficient, in my opinion. It has class readings, it's got your grades, it's got a discussion board, and then there are student and teacher evaluations on there. And in terms of the amenities that are available over here, if you think of the team meetings that you have and the time that you spend over here on campus, interestingly enough, the building is, at least in San Francisco, really well equipped with state-of-the-art meeting rooms. There are plenty. You can book them online through the intranet. And the other part of it that I wanted to give you an idea about was when you think about some of the hard skills that you're hoping to learn, in my case, for example, I needed to make sure that I really spent more time on accounting and finance. And I was so happy to note that there are TAs for almost every class. And for accounting, finance, research, and operations, these TAs take time out of their personal lives to have sessions on the weekend so that you can ask them questions and they can go through the class again with you. And quite a few of my colleagues attended these classes. In terms of the exams are taken on the computer, and there is scratch paper provided for most of them. AP style is required for all presentation papers. Plagiarism certainly is taken very seriously. And so I would look at Hult as that 1 year commitment that offers the first half of it for you to commit wholly, and then the second half, it seems like almost like you would be able to pick the electives that you want and that you would be able to take an internship. So the second part of it is, what's the split between theory and practice? I'd say that overall it's heavily weighted towards practical work, probably except for finance, accounting, subject matter that really requires the theory. But interestingly enough, even accounting and finance professors of mine have brought in real world examples, have asked us to look at, Apple's financial document. And so that really did help because it was all brought into context. Presentations and class participation amount for approximately 55% of the grade. So in-class exams amount for the rest. And then the last one that I put up there just to seed it is, how approachable are the faculty and administration? And for me, it has continued to be the most rewarding part of the MBA, is that they're amazing. They're approachable in terms of the questions that you might have for your classes, but more than that, happy to make connections for you or on your behalf. And that was amazing. So they all have PhDs. They're keenly interested in building your career. A lot of them come with entrepreneurial or corporate experience. Some of them, quite a few of them actually teach at other colleges around here. Berkeley certainly has professors who come over to Hult. And so that's as much as I prepared for.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Rohini. So I do see a few questions coming in here, so I'm just going to read a few of these aloud. We can go from there. So one participant asked, what does your typical day encompass? And I know no 2 days here are exactly the same, but if you could answer that, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm sort of the oddball because I live in Mountain View, which is about an hour train ride away. So my day starts at 5:45. I'm on campus between 8:30 and 9. And with that said, class normally starts by 9. And so I've got to make sure that I have all my readings done on the train, in the bus. And then as soon as class starts, a class is typically 9 to 12 with an hour and a half as a lunch break. And then the next class, especially during Module A and Module B, is from 1:30 to 4:30, or 1:30 to 4, I'm sorry. But that's sort of in class time. And then it's very typical to go up to 6 in terms of teamwork. What I found out is that that really is my typical day. But interestingly enough, the part that is very realistic is the amount of work that you do after hours. So even though you're done meeting with people at 6, the ability to really read stuff, research stuff, get proficient with it is up to you. How you collaborate with people on your team, and then how you manage your schedule to be prepared for classwork is important. So I'd say that a typical day for me ends at about 8:30, and then it's a little bit of family time and back to bed.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we have a question with regards to accommodation in London, Dubai, and Shanghai, which I can briefly speak to this. So when you apply to Hult, and if you're accepted to the program, you'll have access to our student portal called My Hult, which Rohini spoke about. It's something that you'll also use when you're in the program. This has a wealth of resources, specifically when it does come to housing. So both this portal as well as our student services teams on each campus will assist you with housing. Most of our graduate students do find housing in apartments or flats, in the city that they're in, either on their own or oftentimes with roommates to cut costs. We do have an accommodation provider in London, so if you want more of a dormitory type of setting, there is that option. We do tend to see more undergraduates using that versus graduate students, but that would be one option available to you. So certainly plenty of options, a lot of support, as the majority of our students are coming from another state or another country to begin their program with us. And I think I see another question with regards to, let's see, just looking through the questions here, rotation and housing. So, similar type of thing, lots of resources available. We tend to see that students will sometimes do housing swaps. So if you start in San Francisco, you have a lease for a year and you're able to sublet, you'd have the opportunity to connect with a student who's based, let's say in London, if you're going there, and you could just swap housing for a few months. So lots of things that we'll do to help facilitate that process for you. Okay, great. So we do have a question with regards to networking opportunities and career fairs and how helpful they are in getting a job and or an internship. And Rohini, I know you're not doing an internship currently, but I don't know if there is anything you want to speak to with regards to any networking options you've seen on campus, or anything that classmates might be involved with.
Sure. Thank you for that, Jenny. So certainly the push after Mod C is to get internships. And I know that a lot of my classmates need to make sure that they get the internships and it all lines up with their visas. So what's very helpful is that on campus, Career Services sets up several opportunities to network and to secure internships. But interestingly enough, the other part of it is the team dynamic, or the cohorts over here who talk to each other. And it seems like a lot of the internships certainly did come through Hult in terms of the information. Our Career Services sends out, not only do they send up a sort of follow-up to the events that they have, but then they send out internships and jobs that are available. So for me, it felt like, though I didn't avail of it, it felt like there wasn't a dearth of opportunity available for internships.
Okay, great. And then just following up on another question that was submitted along those lines. So, with internships, I know for many students who do pursue that, we see, I believe it's something along the lines of, 60% of those that can lead to job offers after the program. Certainly just depends on what you're looking for. But we do have on all of our campus all of our campuses in April, a career fair, which is heavily focused on internships. So I know here in San Francisco, we had 60 plus companies that were on campus, from, some really interesting startups to larger companies. Robert Half, a recruiting company, Tesla, I'm sure everyone is familiar with them, Kiva, Net Impact, Wave Solar, Oracle, Microsoft. So those are some of the companies that came for our internship fair here. Lots of other opportunities for employers to come to campus for speaking events and panel discussions to speak about their industries. But a lot of connections that you're making with employers will also be through off-campus events and interviews that you're doing. And then we have a question with regards to, have you met any female veterans at Hult? I personally can just say, through having worked with the enrollment team for the past several years, I know we do have a number of veterans who do graduate from Hult every year, particularly from our London and Dubai campuses, where they can really utilize their benefits. So, certainly if this is something you're interested in connecting with a veteran, I can always follow up with the individual who asked this question after the webinar. Okay, great. Any other questions? Please feel free to go ahead and write that in the chat, and we can certainly take another couple if anyone has them. All right. Well, Rohini, it looks like you covered everything. All right. Well, I want to just really thank Rohini for her time this evening and for the wonderful presentation, walking us through her experience at Hult so far. As you all heard, it's quite an intensive year. So, she's very busy and really, I appreciate, the time that she spent with all of us this evening. Hopefully this was helpful to all of you, those of you who are looking to begin the program this fall or still considering your MBA program options. Rohini has provided her LinkedIn profile if anyone does want to connect with her. And then, if you do have any questions with regards to the application or admissions process, please go on and request a brochure, start your application. My colleague or one of my colleagues or myself would follow up with you. Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rohini.
Absolutely.
Right.
This is a wonderful opportunity.
Okay.
I wish you all the very best.
Great. Have a good evening, everyone, and we'll get the recording to you next week. Bye-bye.